I'm kind of a art materials junkie. So like I try everything all the time. I'm working in all different ways. It's Happy Bunny first started as a very small sketch, one of these things that you see up on my bulletin boards. And it was just a little Happy Bunny sketch and it said, "You suck and that's sad." And then every once in a while I would walk by it and I would kind of chuckle. At the time, I was interested in doing something that was sort of like vaguely Japanese. So it's kind of like a really engineered line, a really precise line. And I worked in a piece of software that's called Freehand, but that's very much like Illustrator. And so, and that's also why the language is a little bit awkward. It's Happy Bunny, it's the trademark. I wanted it to feel like a little bit like it wasn't from here exactly. Uh, but that's how I just started working it. I grew up in T-shirts, and I sort of, or I didn't grow up in it, but that was one of my first gigs, and so I was really sort of attuned to how to make an image work on a T-shirt. It has to be brief. T-shirts are generally the stuff on a T-shirt is either "this is who I am," "this is what I love," or there's sort of a category of invisible prints. Sometimes people just want something on the front of their shirt, but It's Happy Bunny, the angle is sort of "this is who I am," and then since then, I mean, since I started it, people have been telling me that all the time, that I am It's Happy Bunny. That's me. That's how I think. I told Maria that I wanted the bunny and the kid to judge the world together. So what I wanted to do was to give the reader somebody who they felt was sort of an ally, somebody who could look at in Love Bites, look at just the idea of relationships with sort of a jaded view of it. And again, that's something that we all have. We all have our moments when we're really like happy and positive and upbeat, and then we have these moments where where we're just not. And people have asked me lots of times, well, why is It's Happy Bunny happy? And the answer is because It's Happy Bunny knows the truth, and that's what makes him happy. Is he understands the truth that sometimes stuff sucks, and that's okay. Like you can't, there's nothing you can do about it. So you might as well, whistle past the graveyard. You might as well live with it. I don't always know where my ideas come from. I think a lot of times it comes from just drilling down and sketching and, like thinking, is this funny? Is this not funny? And, you have a lot of misses. Something that I think is hilarious sometimes will kind of land flat with readers. And then sometimes that stuff that I thought was just sort of mildly amusing, it can turn out to be one of their favorite things. So I think it's really about just pounding on it. I mean, I think inspiration doesn't come to you. I think you kind of go and get it and drag it back kicking and screaming and then cut it up and make it into what you want. It comes through trying things out. I sort of, I look at the illustrations and the ideas and I just sort of think of like, what's funny about this? And, like if I was also somebody who read Mad Magazine a lot when I was a kid, and Mad Magazine often had stuff like, Don Martin looks at, and then there's an idea, looks at Batman or looks at Superman or looks at weddings or something like that. And so you just kind of see, like, once you sort of like set that up, sort of set your trajectory, like, what am I joking about? That's sort of enough of a framework, I think, to just jump in and start doing stuff. What's your sign? One of the things I did was I shared with kids different divination methods. And of course none of them work, but and they're based on like really, really traditional methods of divination, the wisdom of the crowd and stuff, where you just sort of ask a question, you go out into a crowd, you just listen and the answer will come to you. Well, of course it doesn't. You had the answer in your head all along. But I give them some of those things and also tell them exactly why they don't work. This is one of the ones that I have in front of me. I think that partly this one is because this is sort of that dichotomy that fascinates me about human beings. This one I like. This is Bunny Wisdom. And it says, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. But you can make him drown. And when you remind him of that, he'll probably be willing to drink. Sometimes you might have something like, if a licensee says that they want to go out with a holiday thing, they want to do a line for Christmas. then you start thinking about, okay, so where do those jokes live? Like, how does the personality intersect with the joke, with the theme? You sort of never get tired of seeing it on stuff. And there's a few things that I actually never licensed. And like I wouldn't license anything. I wouldn't license an ashtray just because I didn't want kids to associate it with smoking. Um, very early on, like you mentioned, Hot Topic, the brand was really edgy, designed for things like for Hot Topic. And as the brand grew and get bigger and bigger, little kids want what big kids have. And so when we started to be aware of that, then I sort of behind the scenes, I divided the line into two categories. So I had regular and extra crispy. And the extra crispy would only go to adult market, junior markets, and stuff like that. The other stuff, if I knew it was going into kids departments or kids product, it was a different sort of thing. So like the kids products, I was fine with them being self-centered, some of the jokes being self-centered, like it's all about me and stuff like that. But if it's adult stuff, the stuff that said like, cute but psycho, that's an adult joke. So, but this all happened behind the scenes because I knew what the licensees, what their specialties were and what their departments were. So it was great. It was great to see it all, but I had done a lot of licensing before. And so I was sort of familiar with how this was going to work and the idea that you got to feed it out quickly. It's very difficult to push a brand on people. If you could just push any brand you wanted, like Disney would own all of retail. So it's really up to the consumer what they want. And then it's your job as the licensor to feed it out as quickly as possible. Give them what they want as quickly as you can. But yeah, it's terrific fun to see it on stuff.